What's going on, movie fans? My name is Michael Weer. I love talking about movies, and today we're going to talk about a new horror movie called Dear David. Now, this is a movie that I watched on Amazon Prime. You could check it out there, and it is also playing in select theaters around the country, but I mean very select theaters, so good luck finding a showtime, because there was like one in my area at 10 p.m. on a Tuesday, and I was like, well, that's not going to work for me. But why was it like that? And that's because of Taylor Swift. Yeah, you have her to blame for this, because she was like, hey, I'm going to drop my concert movie in the spookiest month of the year on one of the spookiest days of the year, October, Friday the 13th, and we got a Swiftie movie. All the Swifties went to theaters, and the theaters were like, well, no one's going to see all these horror movies that are coming out. People only want to see Taylor Swift, so they just gave all the showtimes to her. Now listen, Swifties, I hope you're having a great time with that. No ill will, have fun. But yeah, my horror movies got bumped to Amazon Prime this year. With that said, I did have to pay $6.99 to watch Dear David on Amazon Prime, but you know what? I've paid for worse. Let's do the review for Dear David.
You've seen my son, David, haven't you?
What does he want?
Ask him yourself.
And so, guys, Dear David is directed by John McPhail, and it's actually based on true events. I don't know why I said it like that, just to give it a spooky sort of air to it. And it stars Augustus Prew as a BuzzFeed writer named Adam, who's doing poorly at his job. He's not doing as great as everyone else. He's not getting as many clicks on his articles as other people are at his job. And he's also having relationship issues with his boyfriend, and so he's kind of just at a weird place in his life. And online trolls start to get to him. He puts a piece of art out online, people start to make fun of him, and he wants to go at him, and he's got several people around him at work that are very supportive of him, and they're like, don't talk to the trolls, just ignore them, leave them alone. But he can't, and eventually he's like, I'm gonna go after these people. And so he tells one of them something very mean, and a new account pops up called David, and that's Dear David, and a new account pops up and it says, why are you so mean? But it turns out that this account is actually haunted by the presence of a young boy, and now that young boy starts haunting him in his house. This is the plot, just to be clear. But like any good journalist, he decides, I'm gonna make a buck on this, and starts making BuzzFeed articles about this Dear David character that's coming after him, and that's where the movie takes off from there. So that's the best synopsis I can give you. If you think this movie sounds like a good time, like I said, it's on Amazon, or you can go find it in select theaters if you're trying to get around a Taylor Swift dance party. I'm not bitter, just it's October. What are we doing? But getting into my likes and some of my dislikes for this movie now, my first like for this movie is going to be the setup. I like the idea of this entity that sort of lives online, but even more than that, I like the idea of this BuzzFeed article writer who is not doing very well at his job, not doing very well in life, gets a hit story and then has to keep going with it, has to keep upping the ante, has to have people stay engaged with it. His boss is constantly pushing him for more. His boss is talking about promotions and other things like that if he can keep this thing going. And so it's just interesting to see. I like that setup. Next like I have for this movie is a real quick one, and that's the cats they used in this movie. There's two cats, and they're absolutely useless because all cats are. I'm not a cat hater. I'm just saying, cats are useless, and they prove that in this movie. It's really funny, actually. The cats will, like, be hissing at the thing on the other side of the door, and as soon as the door opens, they're like, peace, we're out. Yep, we're going to go get some food, maybe even use a litter box, but we're not dealing with any of this, so they get out of there. Cats. And finally, my last like for this movie is going to be Justin Long. I talked about this at the beginning of my October video. I was talking about the movies coming out, how excited I was to see a movie with Justin Long in it again. I think he is a great actor, and I love everything that he does. I hope that this is sort of the return for him, because I've seen him popping up in different things, so I hope we get a lot more Justin Long now. That would be really cool. But he's great in this movie. He actually plays the BuzzFeed director, or person in charge, editor, I guess. He plays the editor, we'll say, at BuzzFeed, and he's the one looking over the stories, pushing this BuzzFeed writer to write more. He's pushing Adam to do more with this story. And anytime he's in this, the movie changes its pace. And the movie does have pacing issues that we'll get to in a little bit. But again, when Justin Long shows up, you're just engaged all of a sudden again. Like, he's so good at doing that. He can really draw you in with what he's doing on screen. And I think he just does a great job bringing some great moments to this movie. But that'll lead me to my dislike for this movie. And my first dislike for this movie is that the movie is very unclear with the rules of this entity. It's like they had a good idea. And again, I understand this comes from a BuzzFeed article, so technically it's based on true events. But they had a good idea where this thing could sort of live online and attack people if they were being bullies online, because this entity was once bullied and attacked online. So, okay, I understand all of that. But then it has different rules that sometimes are what it wants to do and sometimes aren't. It's like, don't ask more than 3 questions. Well, what happens if you ask more than 3 questions? Well, you're going to find out. So then people ask questions, and sometimes he'll answer them, and sometimes he'll just give like non-answers. I'm like, well, not very fair. You're not really playing by the ghost rules, but okay, fine. And then sometimes it just abandons the rules altogether and does whatever it wants. And that's annoying. And again, where I said this movie just sort of sets up what it wants to in this movie, I wish they had not shown that opening scene where it attacks some bullies online, because it would have been cooler to sort of wonder if this is it all in the BuzzFeed guy's imagination. Maybe he's going kind of crazy, or is this a situation where he is making this up for clout so that he can get ahead of his job? It would have been interesting to see if like he was hurting himself on purpose toward the end, or maybe you could have made it an entity, but just make me wonder the whole movie if what was really going on. Now, unfortunately, because of that opening scene of the movie where the entity takes on these bullies, you're not wondering. You're like, okay, this thing's real, and it lives on the internet, and it goes after people who are internet trolls or mean to people who are being internet trolls. Very, very wishy-washy on the rules, because these people are being really mean, and then he says something mean back, and it's like, why are you being a bully? It's like, why were they? So again, just sort of makes up its own rules, does what it wants. And finally, the last thing I have to say is a little bit of a spoiler, so I will throw a spoiler tag up, but it turns into a possession movie at the end for no reason. And they're saying that this is based on true events. So is that BuzzFeed article writer now possessed? Is that what they're saying? Because I don't really understand how this thing works. So again, it's based on a true story. I get that they take liberties with it, but at the end of the movie, they're like, oh yeah, this is a possession movie and the thing can now possess you if it wants. Even though it's never had the desire to do that in the past, ever. It's always been just sort of this thing. And then there's a whole plot with the mom, and at one point you're wondering, wait, is this actually the spirit of the mom that's doing this? But it doesn't seem like that. At the end, it's just sort of the David character, and then it possesses him, and then the movie ends. And you're like, why? And that's what the movie leaves you wondering. It's just, why? Why'd you put all this together and then at the very last second of the movie change what the demon likes to do and possess the guy? Doesn't make any sense. But I'll take that spoiler tag down. Overall, I'll say that I had some good moments with this movie, mostly involving Justin Long, and I did like to set up the idea for this movie. But the third act really falls apart. They just sort of throw everything at the wall. They throw a possession trope in there. They throw all these things in there, and I'm just like, it doesn't make sense why you did this. I will say that while I am one of those people who's like, yeah, let's support horror, let's have a good time with it, I've stayed true to this all year. When I started with Skin and Marine saying, let's support horror, let's not necessarily support bad horror, and that's what I think this movie is, unfortunately. If you want to check this thing out, I'd maybe recommend that you wait till it's free to stream somewhere. I'm sure eventually Amazon will put it in their regular Amazon Prime movies, so if you have a Prime membership, you can just check it out. But those are just my opinions, because that's my review for Dear David. Guys, if you've seen Dear David and you've got thoughts and you've got comments, throw those in the comment section down below. Let me know what you think about this movie, but I'd love to know if you agree or disagree with me on some of the things that I said, my likes, my dislikes. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you saw more in this movie than I did. I don't know. But with all that said though, guys, if you like this review and you want to see more, don't forget to hit the like button, because it helps the video, it helps the channel, and it helps me right here. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Alright guys, we get to the end of the Dear David review, and while I wasn't a big fan of this movie, at least it was a scary movie to watch in the month of October. So we got that going for us. But with all that said, if you like this review and you want to check out more of the content on my channel, I've got all of my horror movie reviews right there, and all of my 2023 reviews right there.